各位老师、各位同学，早安！呃，所有参与今天早上这个工作坊的同学们，早安！那跟大家做一个简单的自我介绍，我是文斌，来自台大校友会的理事啊，也是这一次城市设计比竞赛的副主委啊，所以也是今天早上大家的这个工作坊的主持人。大家早安啊！再一次跟大家说个早安。那今天是线上有大概200多位同学们啊，一起来上这个课程。这个工作坊也是我们这个比赛的必须参加的这个过程啊。那这一次是我们第3次的工作坊啊。我知道有一些同学几乎每一场工作坊都会来哦，非常欢迎啊，也非常敬佩这样的态度哦，来学习的一个态度啊，非常重要。我们这个整个竞赛其实不只是一个比赛啦，我们也希望同学可以透过竞赛来学习啊。今天大概我们今天整个工作坊会分成3个段落，最早是赖老师会来给大家上课啊，然后10点我们会有 Plus Solar 的一个太阳能的一个创业人来跟大家分享哦，关于科技。关于城市设计啊，跟我们生活上如何息息相关啊。然后到11点到12点，我们会有孙老师来给我们分享关于比赛的一些规则跟第2段的这个学习啊。然后12点到1点钟啊，是各位的一个资格测试啊。那目前从前面2场的工作坊啊，我们已经有172人，是172位学生。解除静音。不好意思，是有172位同学是合格的啊。那有17队已经组成啊，所以目前我们的比赛已经有17个队伍了啊，所以大会也决定今年我们会有一个初赛，会在9月13号。那各位放心，关于比赛的所有细则啊，我们还是会有更加详细的会在我们的群组里面啊，来跟大家做报告的啊。好，那我检测一下今天线上的同学的情况，然后我就把现场要交给我们的老师了啊，好不好？来，我们同学们，如果你们已经 ready， 你们已经准备好在线上要学习的，能不能给我在留言板里面给我打个888？来，我测一下同学们啊 ，OK， 好，哇，来自非常多的不同的中学哦，有从霹雳的南部 Johor 的啊，我也看到波德森的啊，双溪大年的宽柔的，哇，雅比 OK， 哎呀，也有从我们东马过来的啊，好，谢谢，非常谢谢线上所有的同学啊，我都有看到非常多的爸爸哈，那接着下来就是会进入我们的第1个时段啊，第1个时段就是我们的赖老师，这里我要特别谢谢这几个单位了啊，台大校友会主办的这个城市竞赛，得到拉曼大学啊特别大力的支持啊，今天早上这个工作坊也是由拉曼大学的老师配合台大校友会一起来完成的啊，所以我现在现场就要把时间交给我们的赖老师，赖老师你在线上吗？赖老师，嗨呀，我有看到赖老师了啊，声音比较小声啊，可以吗？赖老师可能要调整一下你的麦克风。
等一下啊。
好。
听到吗？
可以的，好。
可以 ，OK。
好，那我就把现场交给赖老师了，我们就开始今天这个工作坊的第1段。同学们在我们的这个留言板给我留666，好不好？我们欢迎赖老师，我们把现场的时间就交给赖老师来开启我们今天早上这个工作坊的第1堂课啊。好，谢谢各位，我看到非常多的666，那我就把时间交给赖老师了，赖老师交给你了。
好 ，OK，Thank you。
老师，那个麦克风的声音可能要调一下，还是没有办法听得到。
OK， 这样 OK 吗？
这样 OK。
OK，
谢谢。
OK，so 我就 share 我的 screen 先。 大家可以看到我的 screen 啊？
可以，可是是不是空白的？
空白哦，现在
现在可以了。
可以 ，OK。Okay, so we'll just start. Okay, so a very good morning to everyone and welcome to this NTU Cup workshop. Okay, this is the workshop schedule for today. Okay, I will start the workshop with session 1, which include basic ICT and also programming concept. Okay, and this is the content for session 1, okay, which include the basic ICT and also programming basic. So let's start with the basic ICT first. We will look at evolution of computer first. So until today, we have 5 generations of computers altogether. The first generation of computing devices are called Universal Automatic Computer or UNIVAC, and also Electronic Numerical Integrator and Calculator, also known as ENIAC. So this UNIVAC was the first commercial computer delivered to a business client, that is the US Census Bureau in 1951. UNIVAC and ENIAC use vacuum chips as the basic component for memory and also circuitry for their central processing unit. Okay, the computer in this generation are still using the machine code as the programming language. Okay, then in 1959 to 1965, we have the second generation computer, which is the transistor-driven machine. It is the first computer to store instruction into their memory. In this generation, transistors were used because they were cheaper and they consume less power, more compact in size, and more reliable and faster than the first generation computer machine. And also in this generation, assembly language and high-level programming language like Fortran and COBOL were used. Then in third generation, the first monolithic integrated circuit computer is invented by Robert Noyce, where the chip was made from silicons. And in the fourth generation, we have microprocessors such as the Texas Instrument TMS 100 and Intel Core are invented. And lastly, in the fifth generation computing devices, it is based on artificial intelligence and are still in development. So there are some applications such as voice recognition that are being used today. The goal of this generation is to develop devices that are capable of learning. And in every computer system, we must have at least one operating system installed and running. This operating system will manage the software and hardware on the computer, and it will coordinate all the running programs to make sure each program able to access the computer's central processing unit. The OS help you to communicate with the computer, and it is not possible for the user to use any computing or mobile device without having an operating system. The graph and the table show here the market share of the various operating systems in the last 12 months. Okay, recently there is a growing number of electronic devices that are connected to the internet, and it has the ability to transfer data over network without requiring human to human or human to computer interaction. This system of interrelated computing devices, mechanical and digital machine, object, animals, or people that are provided with unique identifier is known as the Internet of Things or IoT. Okay, and Fulringer has mentioned in Network World that there are more than 50 billion IoT devices as of 2020 that will generate 4.4 zettabytes of data in the year itself, as compared to only 100 billion of gigabytes of data that was generated in year 2013. Okay, as we know, computers and mobile devices have become a necessity, and it is no longer considered as a desire for us to own this device. We rely on those devices so much in our daily activities, from doing activities such as banking, online shopping, study, and so on. Okay, and there's so much data being kept in those devices and transmitted from one device to another every single moment of time. Therefore, we must ensure the security of the data that are kept in those devices and the information being transmitted from one device to another. Where cybersecurity is the practice of defending the computer, servers, mobile devices, electronic system, networks, and data from malicious attack. It is also known as information technology security or electronic information security. The term cybersecurity can be applied in a variety of contexts, from business to mobile computing, and it can be divided into a few common categories, such as performing an unauthorized access to someone's computers or mobile devices, tapping or sniffing into the communication line, as well as hacking into corporate server to steal, copy, or alter the data. Cyber threat can consist of cybercrime, cyber attack, cyber terrorism, malware, phishing, man-in-the-middle attack, romance scam, and so on. And cybercrime can be conducted by a single person or a group of people with the aim of gaining financially or to cause disruption to the system. Cyber attack is often politically motivated with the aim of information gathering, and cyber terrorism is intended to undermine the electronic system to cause panic or fear. On the other hand, malware is a virus, Trojan, spyware, ransomware, adware, or botnets that can spread to computer or electronic device that will cause damage to the data or program in the storage devices. Okay, software is actually a collection of instruction and data that tell a computer how to work. These include all information processed by a computer, which include programs and data. And also in here, software is a generic term that we use to refer to applications, script, and programs that run on a device. The diagram here shows an example of software that we use in a PC platform and also in mobile platform. As a conclusion, in this diagram here, we can see that the input devices, such as the keyboard, it will supply the raw data to the software program that will then process the raw data into useful information that will be output to the various output devices here. Okay, so now we will look at some basic concepts of programming. Okay, we will start with the basic structure in the C++ and also in Java program. Okay, when you write your program in C++ or Java, you need to follow this program structure. Okay, that is given here. Okay, we will look at what is algorithm. So algorithm is a set of step-by-step procedures or a set of rules to follow for completing a specific task or solving a particular problem. And it is a well-defined computational procedure that will take some values or a set of values as input, and then it will produce some value or set of value as output. These are the important criteria of an algorithm. Okay. The first is definiteness, where each instruction is clear and unambiguous. And second, followed by finiteness, where the algorithm must stop eventually. And the third is the effectiveness. The steps are basic enough to be carried out. And finally, the runtime or the speed of the algorithm must be acceptable. Okay, this slide here shows an algorithm of how to fry an egg. Okay, so when we want to fry an egg, we will start with first we heat the frying pan for 5 minutes, then we pour some oil and we crack the egg into the pan, then wait for 4 minutes. Then it depends which type of yolk that you want. If you want a medium one, then you cook for 5 minutes. If you want a harder yolk, then you cook for 6 minutes. And after that, you flip the egg and then you serve. Okay, so we have to follow these steps starting from 1 to 6 to fry an egg. Okay, and here we look at the algorithm to swap two variables. Okay, we want to swap the variables of this integer x and also this integer y here. To swap two variables, we need a temporary variable where we declare this temp variable here. So in the first step, the original value x, we will copy it to this variable temp first. Okay. Then in the second step, we will copy the value of y to x. And the third step, the final step, okay, we will copy the value in temp, which is actually the original value of x to y itself. And after that, we can see that now x will have the value of y and y will have the value of x before this. And also in programming, sometimes we will use this pseudocode to document the algorithm in English-like statement, okay, as the example below shows. Okay, this pseudocode can be translated later to a program using any programming languages. Okay. So in every program, we need to store values for processing. And this is where we can declare variables to store the values according to the format that we need. And data type is used to specify the format of the data that is used in a program. In C++ and Java, we can use primitive data type and also non-primitive data types. Primitive data type is the smallest unit that the program can create, and it is already built in the programming language. Meanwhile, the non-primitive data type is known as user-defined data type, where user can define their own data type if it's needed. Okay, this table here shows the primitive data types that we can declare in C++ and also in Java language. Okay, for example, like integer, floating point data type, double, Boolean, character, and string. And also in this table, it shows how to declare a variable for each of the data type in C++ and also in Java. Okay, like for example, if you want to declare an integer, this is how we do it in C++, where you start with the type followed by the variable name. And this equals 10 is you initialize the variable to 10, which is optional. Okay, for Java also is similar. The most basic operation in a program are actually input and output operations. So input is information supplied to a computer or program, and output is information provided by a computer or program. Okay. In C++, the standard input that we use called cout together with this insertion operator here. Okay, to output the value you can see in the example columns here. Okay, and we can also use the end line to display a new line in the output. Okay, as you can see in the second row here. Okay. As for Java, it uses the following function to output the value. Okay, the print and print line will print the string, as we can see in the example column. While the printf function you use if you want to format a string, such as to print a variable type, like we can see here. We put this string word as a variable %s. Okay, so this part is called the format specifier, the %s and the %n. Okay, where you will start with the % and end with a converter like s or n. Okay, and this is the converter that you can use in Java. If you want to output an integer, then you put %t. If you want to output a float, you put %f, and so on. Okay. So in the format specifier, you can also insert some optional flag to further format the output. Okay, this table shows you the flag that you can use in Java. For example, if you put 08, then it means that you want to print the characters, 8 characters in width with leading 0 necessary. If you put plus, means you want to include the sign plus. It can be positive or negative. You can put plus or minus. Okay, you can see the example here, how we use the flag. Okay, in the output in Java. Okay, And in this table, it shows the input for C++ and also for Java. For C++, it used the cin to read from the keyboard. And for Java, it used the scanner class to get the input. And also in Java, we can use the following functions in the table here to read the input from user according to the type that we want to store in the program. Like for example, if you want to read integer, you can put next in. If you want to read a string, we can put next line function. Okay. And this slide here shows the input and output used in a C++ and also a Java program to get the name and age from user, and then we display it as output. Okay, so this column here is for the C++, okay, where you ask user to enter the name, the age, okay, using cin. For string, we can use a get line, but you also get it from the cin stream, and then you output. Okay, for the Java program, we use the function next line to get the name, and we use the function next in to get the age here, and then we see out the output, okay, which we use the print line function. Okay, let us go to control structure now in the program, and we will see what is a control structure. So in a program that we have seen so far, all the statements inside are executed actually sequentially, starting from the first statement until the end. Right? However, in some situation, we need to selectively choose the statement to execute according to some condition. So in C++ and Java, we can use selection statement like if else and also switch case to do this. So in order to make decision on which statement to execute, the condition must be expressed in a way that the computer can understand. So in here, we will use logical expressions, which will be evaluated to true or false to help us to make a decision. Okay, and the flow chart here show the flow for one-way selection and a two-way selection. So for one-way selection, we can see that you only execute a statement if the condition is true. If it's false, we do nothing. So it's called one-way selection. And for a two-way selection, a statement will be executed if the condition is true or false. Okay. And usually, we will use relational operator to write the expression in the selection condition. Okay, just now. And these are the relational operators that we can use. It is used to determine if the variable has the value that can fulfill the condition to be true or false. Okay. This table here shows relational operator for equal to, not equal to, and less than. You can see the expressions, how do we use each of these operators, and the value that will make this expression to be true and also false. Okay, so beside the previous three, you can also use a relational operator like less than or equal to, greater than or equals to as well in your expression. Besides this, we can also put more than one expression in the selection condition. Okay, as we can see here, every expression here, we can use the logical operators to connect them. For example, this one, we use the and here we use the or to connect the two expressions. Okay. Okay, these are the logical operator that we can use when we want to connect the expression. Okay, like the not, okay, and also or. And this is how you write the symbol in the program. Okay, so we can see in the expression here, the sample, how to use this operator in the expressions. Okay, and these are the value that can make this expression to be true and false. Okay, so when we use logical operator for and also or, Okay, this table here show you the final evaluation result when we use the AND and also the OR operator to connect two expressions. For the AND operator, it will be evaluated to true, okay, when both expression 1 and expression 2 are true. Otherwise, for other cases here, it will be evaluated to false. Okay. Meanwhile, for the OR operator, it will be evaluated to false only when both expression 1 and expression 2 are false. Else, it will be evaluated to true for other cases. Okay, if we use more than one operator in an expressions, we have to apply the order of precedence to determine which operator we should evaluate first. The table here shows the order of the precedence for each of the operators that you can use in a program. Okay, so based on the precedence, it will be, the program will determine which one they should evaluate first. Let's look at the expression here. For example, the first expression here, it contains a lot of operator like more than, or, and so on, right? So based on this, we will evaluate the more than, less than, and more than equal operator first. Okay, as you can see, the precedence here is higher than and or. Okay, after that, okay, we will evaluate the and finally we evaluate the or. Okay, and in the second example, okay, based on this expression here that contain multiple operators, we will evaluate the asterisk first, which represent the multiplication. Then we evaluate the plus, the addition operator, and followed by we will evaluate the more than, less than, and also more than equal operator. Okay, and this will follow by the AND operator, and finally the OR operator will be evaluated at the end. And this is the final value that the expression will be evaluated to. Okay, here it shows you a simple program using else if statement to determine student grade according to the marks. Okay, in C++ version and also in Java version. Basically, the C++ version and Java version are very similar, except for maybe the output, like C++ we use cout and Java we will use system.out.println here for the cout. Okay, so here we can see that we use the operator AND to check if the marks variable is within a range, so that we can so that it helps us to print the correct grade. For example, if the marks is within the range of 0 to 49, then you print the grade F. And if it's more than or equals to 50, okay, and until 59, then you will print the grade C. Okay, so here you will select one to print only based on the mark. So based on our output here, the mark here we set 80, right? So the output for this program, it should print grade A. We can also change the program to determine to be written in a nested if-else, as we can show here. Okay, so first you make sure that the marks within the range 0 to 100. Then inside you see if the mark is more than 80, then you print A. If it's more than 60, you print B. Okay, and so on. Okay, in C++ and Java, switch also can be used to implement selection statement as well. The flowchart here it shows how switch work. Okay, so it will execute the statement according to the case value obtained from the expression. And this is an example that uses switch to determine student marks according to the grade. Okay, in C++ version and also Java version. So for example, if it's the grade is case A, uppercase A or lowercase a, then it will print the marks 80 to 100. So if it's B, and it will print the marks is 60 to 79. Okay, accordingly. And also here for switch, we have something called a default here. This is to catch those input or those grade value that doesn't belongs to A, B, C, or F. Okay, so if you input any grade value that is not A, B, C, or F, it will go to the default here and say that your input is not valid. Okay, so because we have two types of selection structure that we can use, like if, else, and also switch statement. So which one should we use, right? So it really depends on the condition. So if else is suitable for any condition, especially if your expressions contain arithmetic and also comparison operator. Okay, like we use the more than equal, more than or equals to, and or, and also those arithmetic operators inside. Okay, meanwhile, for switcher, it is only suitable for those choices where you don't need to compute comparison in the expressions. Okay, this is an example where switch is not suitable to use because the comparison operator that we use here in the expressions. Okay, like you can see, we cannot use switch here. Okay, it cannot work. But if else, we can use. Okay, we will now move to the concept of repetition. Okay, or loop in a program. So this is what we will cover in this section here. We will look at what is repetition and why do we need it in the program, and what are the types of repetition we need, and what are the types of control that we can use in a repetition. Okay, this followed by the break and continue statement, and finally, example of how do we implement a nested loop. Okay, so we use repetition in to repeat certain statement in the program, and it can be, this repetition can be repeated from 0 time until number of times determined by a control value or a condition that is set. Okay, so in C++ and Java, there are 3 types of repetition that we can use. We can use the while loop, the do while loop, and the for loop. Okay, so we will look at, okay, why do we need repetition in the program? Let's look at this example. Okay, assume that I want to print the message, welcome to NTU PC workshop 10 times in the program. So the most primitive way to do that is you repeat the C out 10 times, printing the same message here. So you need 10 statements to do that, right? But on the other hand, if I use repetition, like for loop here, okay, I just put for loop inside, I say that, okay, you have to loop 10 times, okay? And every time you loop, you need to see out this message, welcome to NTU PC. Then you can see I can solve this problem by using just 2 lines of statement instead of the previous one where you need 10 lines of statement inside. Okay, so looping can help us to reduce the number of statements inside our program. Okay, and also this second example also show us how we can also reduce the number of statement and also a variable used when we use loop to solve the problem. Okay, here the program actually is to add up the 5 number entered by user, and then we display the result, okay, of the addition. So if we don't use loop to do this, you need to declare 5 in the individual variables here, like A1 to A5, okay, to store the value that will be entered by user 5 times the 5 integer value, okay, and then you total up and then you print out, right? But if I use the repetition or loop to do this, so I just need 1 variable here, declare, okay, and I just put all this in a loop where inside when it loop every time, I will ask user to enter a value and I will put it in the same variable and I will add it up here, okay. And after that, after the for loop, it will loop 5 times. After the for loop, then I will print out the value of the total of all these variables here. Okay, so we can see the code here is much more shorter and also is cleaner. Okay, so in C++ and also the Java language, there are 3 types of repetition that we can use. Okay, the while loop, the do while loop, and the for loop, and we will look at each one. Okay, how to use it. So the general syntax we will look at while loop. The first looping structure that we see is the while loop. Okay. In the left box here, you can see that this is the general syntax for the while loop. Okay. The word while here is actually a keyword. Okay, it's a keyword. And the condition here will decide if the statement in the loop will be executed or not. If the condition is evaluated to true, okay, then you will still go inside the loop and execute the statement here. Okay. Let's look at an example using this while loop. Okay. So in this example, we want to print the number from 1 to 10 using a while loop. Okay. So here we have the C++ version and the Java version on how to do this using while loop. Okay. You can see that the program will look starting from I equals to 1 here, and until your I less than or equals to 10, until your I becomes 10. And every time when you look, it will see out the value I. Okay, and here you will see that this I value will be increased by 1 every time you look, so that you can reach your condition here and you can stop the loop. Okay, you can stop the loop. Okay. The Java version is actually similar to the C++ version here, except for the output. Here we use cout, and here you use the print9 function for the cout. But the while structure, all this is the same as in C++. And below here is the output of the program. It will print the number from 1 until 10 when you run the program. Okay. The second type of loop that we can use is called a do-while loop. Okay, so here it shows you the general syntax for the do-while loop. Okay, and it's how the do-while loop works. It is very similar to the while loop, except that it will execute the statement at least 1 time before the condition is met. But for the while loop just now, it is possible that it won't be executed once because of the condition. If initially your condition cannot be met, it won't be executed at all. But do while loop will ensure that you will execute the statement at least once. Okay, no matter whether your condition is true or false at the beginning. Okay, and this is a sample program also to print numbers from 1 to 10, but using do while loop. Okay, so you can see is we also will initialize the I, okay, to 1 first, and then here the condition is also to loop until I becomes 10. And inside, every time when we loop, we will see out the I, and we will also increase the I by 1 so that we can reach I equals to 10 to stop the loop here. Okay, but here you can see when you start the loop, you don't check the condition. So that's why no matter what is your I value when you start the do while loop, definitely you will see out I 1 time and increase this I 1 time. Okay, but for the while loop just now, if your I value is more than 10 when you start, then it won't be executed at least once. Okay. The third repetition method that we can use is called a for loop. Okay, and this is the general syntax for the for loop. Okay, it has 3 sections here: initialization, condition, and update. Initialization is used to initialize a variable, and the update, we use it to update the variable every time it loops so that it can reach this condition here to stop your loop. Okay. The word for is a keyword. Okay. So if using the same example to print numbers from 1 to 10, but this time we use for loop structure. Okay, this is how we would have written the program. So here you can see the initialization, where we initialize I to certain value when we start. The condition and the update are all put inside the bracket in the for loop. Okay, the header of the for loop. Okay, like unlike the while loop and do while loop where we have to separate it, put somewhere else, right? But here we put everything in the header. Okay, so this is the initialization part. This I less than equals to 10 is your condition. Okay, and this I plus plus is your update. Okay, so every time when you look, if the condition is still true, then you will see out I. Okay, so for the Java version is pretty similar to the C++ version as well, except for the output here. Okay, where we use cout and also here we use system.out.println. Okay, so for the 3 repetition structures that we can use, right? Okay, we can apply these 3 types of control in their loop. Okay, so we can apply something called counter control, sentinel control, and also flag control. Okay, we will see what is the difference in each one. Okay, so for counter control loop, this is the loop condition is actually controlled by a counter. Okay, it's controlled by counter, and this type of loop is suitable if you know how many times you want to loop. Okay, so we can see in the example here, right? So the counter here is the I. Okay, so this I will control how many times this while loop will loop. Okay, so we call this as a counter control loop. Okay, for sentinel control loop, it is actually controlled by a value that we call as sentinel. Okay, and usually we sentinel value that we use value like 999 -1 -999 and so on. Okay, so this type is useful. Okay, you should use this if you don't know how many times you want to loop. Okay, so you will use this sentinel value to control. Okay, whether you should continue looping or stop. Okay, let's look at an example using this sentinel control loop. Okay, so in this program here, we want to ask user to input a positive number. Okay, and user can input as many as they want. Okay, and when they want to stop, they can enter value -999 to stop. Then we know they want to stop. Okay, so you can see here. Okay, let's look at here. Okay, so we use a while loop here, where you can see the condition is controlled by this value -999. As long as user didn't enter -999, you will still continue loop. Okay, here and ask user to enter a number, positive value. Okay, and this is the sample output for this sentinel control loop. Okay, where user enter a positive number, you can see as long as user enter value that is not -999, it will continue to loop until when user want to stop, you just have to enter the value -999, and it won't ask you to enter any number anymore and print out the total of all the previous value that you have entered. Okay, so this kind of program where you don't know how many times you want to loop, then we use sentinel control loop. Okay, then the third type of control loop that you can use is called flag control loop, where it will use a Boolean value, okay, to control the loop. This loop will continue to loop until the flag value is flipped. Okay, let's look at the example. So in the flag control loop here, okay, here we want user to enter as many positive integer they want until they enter negative value, any negative value to stop. Okay, so it means if, let's say, the input that you read here is positive, when you see in if this num is positive, okay, you will continue to loop. Okay, like you can see in the while condition, we put the variable positive, and this variable positive is actually a Boolean value where the value can be true and false. So we set it to true. So it continues to loop as long as user enter positive. But when user enter a negative value, then we will set it to false and your loop condition will become false and you will stop the loop. Okay, so this is how we use a flag control loop. The variable positive here is the flag. Okay, this is the Java version. The previous one is the C++ version. So, and also this is the example output on how we can use this flag control loop. So as long as we enter positive value as our input, you can see it will keep continue to ask you to input a positive integer. Okay, until when you want to stop, you just enter any negative value. Here, we enter negative 50, but you can enter any negative value. Okay, then you know you want to stop and it will top up all the value here for you. Okay, that you enter previously. So this is flag control. Okay. Now in our loop, we can also use these two statements, the break and continue statement. Okay, this break and continue statement can alter the flow of your loop. Okay, for example, the break statement you use when you want to exit early from a loop, means when you haven't even completed all your the number of times that you're supposed to loop, but you want to stop due to some certain situation, you can use break. Okay. For example, like in this for loop here, we use break to terminate the loop when I becomes 5. Okay, if we don't have this if statement here, this loop will loop from I equals 1 until I equals 10. Right? It will loop 10 times, supposed to print 1 to 10. But when you put this statement here, if I equals 5, then you want to break. So that's why in your output, you can see that it only print from 1 until 4. Because when your I becomes 5, you break, you won't execute any statement that is after the break statement here. Okay, so that's why you print from 1 to 4. Okay. And also, besides break, we can also use the continue statement, where the continue statement, it will skip the remaining statement and proceed with the next iteration of the loop. Okay, we can see the example here. So in this program, the value 5 is not printed because the continue statement here. When I equals 5, we put continue, right? Okay, so what happened when you put continue here? The program will go to the next iteration when I become 5 before it executes this cout. Okay, so that's why here you don't see the 5. But after you continue means you go to the for loop here again, increase the I, okay, and then the I becomes 6, so the condition is still true, so you go inside and you will see out 6, and so on until 10, but you skip 5, okay? So you can use continue to help you to do that if you want to skip certain iteration. Okay. Okay, for nested control structures, we can have nested control structure, which means a nested loop. Okay, for example, here you can see that we use this nested loop to print this program structure, because here we know that in the first row we want to print 1 asterisk, second row we want to print 2nd asterisk. So we can use this nested for loop, where the outer for loop determine how many row of asterisk you want to print. And the inner for loop will help you to determine in every row how many asterisk you want to print. Like the first one, you print 1 asterisk, first row. Second row, you print 2 asterisk, third row, you print 3 asterisk, and so on. Okay, so we can use a nested loop to do this. Okay. Here, if you want the pattern to be upside down like this, okay, so what we have to do to the code, you just have to actually change the first for loop. Okay, here we call this as the first for loop or the outer for loop, and this one is the inner for loop. So you just change this outer for loop, okay, to become like this, where your I, you start from 5 until 1, and every time you minus the I. Then you will see that, okay, it will print first row with 5 asterisk, second row with 4 asterisk until 1 asterisk in the last row. Okay. So based on so many looping structures that we have seen just now, right? So which one, which one you should use actually? Okay. So it actually depends on, I mean, the situation that you have. So if you can know how many numbers of repetition that you need to do, right? Then you should use the for loop. Okay, if you know how many repetition you should do, then you use for loop. But on the other hand, if you do not know, okay, in advance how many repetition you want to use, you can use a while loop and also do while loop. So while loop and do while loop, the difference is, as I told you previously, right? Okay, if you do while loop when you need to execute the statement at least once, no matter what is the condition of the loop, then you use the do while loop. But if you use a while loop, then it really depends on what is your condition at the beginning. Because if the condition is false at the beginning, you won't even execute once. Okay, so it depends, okay, which one you need in your program. Okay, so the conclusion is if you know how many loops you need to loop, you use for loop. If you don't know, then you can either use a while loop or a do while loop. Okay. Okay, now we will look at what is array, okay, in the program. So this is what we will cover in array. First, we look at what is array first, right? The definition, and then why do we need this array in the program? And how to declare it, and how do we access the element inside. And we will look at also example using array, okay, and two-dimensional array, how to create array that is of higher dimension. Okay, now we look at what is array. Yeah? So array is actually a collection of related data items, okay, which is of the same data type. And each of these items will be stored consecutively next to each other in the memory. Okay, like you can see in this diagram here. Okay, now, let's look at, okay, why do we need array in the program, right? So in this example, assume that we want to store and print 5 student marks, and then find the average mark of these 5 students. So if I don't use array to do this, right? Okay, this is what I will do. You can see that I need to declare 5 variables, okay, and a total and all this. And this is the mark, let's say for these 5 marks, and I total up and get the average and then print out each one separately, okay. But if I use array to store the mark, okay, instead of 5 individual variables here, then you can see to process this mark in array, it will make our code to, the line of code to be reduced. Okay, you can see the line of code here is reduced compared to this version here without the arrays, right? Because if you store the marks in array like this, then when you process, we can use the for loop and process one by one. Okay, that will make your code to be shorter and more efficient. Okay. So this table here show you how to declare array. If you are using C++ and if you are using Java. Okay. And here also, we have many different rows. Each row show you if you want, let's say the first row is, you just want to declare array with 5 integer elements. So this is how you do it in C++ version, okay, where you put the type, that means the element you want to store in the array, the name of the array, followed by the bracket to indicate how many elements you want, or the size of the array. For Java, this is how you do it, okay? And the second row is how to declare an array with 5 integer elements and initialize to certain value. This is how you do it. And this is the version in Java, okay? And different array declaration, you can look at it, okay, in this table here. Okay, and if you want to access any element in the array, you need to use the index of the element that start from 0 until size -1, where size is the number of elements in your array. For example, here, this array has 5 elements, right? So the size is 5. So the index range for this array will be 0 until 4. Okay, and you can see here, for example, if let's say I want to display the value of the second element, which is this 56, we call this first element, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So if I want to display the second element, I would put cout, then num bracket 1. So to access the element of array, the format is you put the array name, num, then the bracket is to indicate the index of the element that you want to access. So if I put 1 means is the second one, because the index will start counting from 0. Okay, so it's 1. So this one, the output will be 56. Okay, this is how we access. Okay, and usually if you want to access, let's say in some operation, you need to access every element. Like for example, every element I want to see out all the elements in the array. Then we will use a for loop to do that. Okay, let's see the example. For example, here I want to print out the array content of this array num, right? Okay, which I declare here and initialize to this value. Okay, then I will use a for loop instead of writing cout num bracket 0, cout num bracket 1, cout num bracket 2. Because when I use the for loop, this I value will change from I equal to 0 until 4, the last element. Okay, so it will save your lines of code here and easier to manipulate. For the Java version also is similar, but here for the how many array element you have, you can either directly like use 5, okay, or you can use this num.length. Okay, so in array it provides you this length attributes for the array. Okay, but C++ you don't have. Okay, so this is the output of the of this program if you run the C++ version or the Java version. Okay. Another example using for loop is in this example here, we go to each element in the array in order to print the elements that is odd value. Okay, so as usual, we will use a for loop to help us to go through every element. In our array here, we have 10 elements. Okay, so our loop, we will look from 0 until 9. We will look 10 times. Okay, every time when we look, we check this num I, which is the current element that we check, starting from the first one until the last, and modulus 2, because we want to know if it's odd. If odd, the value of the modulus will be 1. So if it's odd, then we will see other value. So based on the value in our array here, this will be the output when we run the program. Okay, so for this Java version is quite similar to the C++ version, except for the output only. Okay. Okay. Now let's look at when we process the array content. Okay. Here, when we use the operator like plus plus or minus minus, okay, we need to be careful because if you put it in different place, it will mean different things. For example, like in the first statement here, when I put test bracket I, okay, assume that here test I, the value in the array is 22, okay, and the index I is 6. So if I put the plus plus outside of the bracket, what it will be evaluated to is you are actually add 1 to test I, where your element value will be changed to 23 now, means test bracket 6 will be changed to 23, but your I index is still 6. Okay. On the other hand, you can also use the plus plus inside the what you call this the bracket. Okay. So if you put test I plus plus inside the bracket, then what it will do is it will increment your I value. Okay. So our I value is 6, right? So this one it will increment from 6 to 7, but your value test I, test 6 means it's still 22. Okay, so it has a different meaning if you put it outside and if you put it inside. Okay, so we need to be careful when we perform this statement. Okay, And if you want to copy an array from one array to another array, we cannot use the assignment operator like this, where let's say new test and test are both also array. Then you want to copy the array in this test to this new test. We cannot do like this, okay? It cannot work. Okay, so if you really want to copy, like you want to make a clone of this array test, okay, then what you have to do, you have to use a for loop here, where you will look from the first element until the last element in this array test and copy, take out each element in array test and copy it to each element in this array new test one by one. Okay, you have to copy one by one. Okay. Now, we can also define an array that is of higher dimension, because all the array that we've seen before this is only one dimension, because when you declare, you just use one bracket only, right? So let's look at what is a two-dimensional array. So a two-dimensional array means you have two dimensions here. It's like a table in a spreadsheet, okay? For example, here, this exam array, I declare as a two-dimensional array where I put two brackets, right? When I declare now, one is I put value row, which is value 4. The second is the column, which is value 3. Okay, so I would have create an array with 4 rows and 3 columns, like this example, this diagram over here. Okay, this is the exam array, and this is 1 row, 2 row, 3 row, and 4 row. And in every row, you have 3 columns. One example, if I want to access this array in the third row and third column, I will have put exam bracket 2, bracket 2. Okay, the third row means the index is 2 because we start from 0, 0, 1, 2. The third column also means the index is 2, 0, 1, 2. So we assign 86. So the value here, we put 86. Okay. At the top here, we can see this is how we declare this two-dimensional array using C++ version and using the Java version. Okay. Okay. And this is how we initialize this two-dimensional array. Okay. In C++ and also in Java. So when you declare, right, you have to put equals, then bracket, then inside this 8478 is inside another bracket, curly braces, right? So this is to initialize the first row. Then you put a comma, then another bracket, 92 and 97. This is to initialize the second row. Okay. So every row, you have 2 values because one is for each column. Because our row, I mean this exam array only with 2 rows and 2 columns. Okay. So for the Java version is similar. Okay. For C++, when you declare the array, right, you need to specify what is the size explicitly like this. But in Java, if you don't put the size, it will automatically help you to allocate the size according to your, I mean, if you put initializer here. Okay. So it will know that this exam array will have 2 rows and 2 columns. Okay. Now, if I want to sum all the elements in a two-dimensional array, we have seen how to do this in one-dimension array, right? Where we use one for loop. So for two-dimensional array, we need to use 2 for loop, which is nested. Okay. So assume that this is my array, the 2D array, two-dimensional, where I have 5 rows and 5 columns. Okay, and it's initialized to this value here. Okay, we have 5 rows. Each row here we have 5 values for each of the columns, right? So if I want to top up all these values in this 2D array, this is how I do it. I will have used 2 for loop and it's nested. So the outer for loop is to represent the row that I'm processing now. For example, I start with row 0, the first row, until row 4, because this is 5, right? Okay. Then in every row, I will go through every element, every column. have 5 columns, right? So this second for loop is to help you to go through every column in the first, in that particular row. Okay. So when you go through every column means you will assess the value in this element like numbers, row, and column. So if it's 0 and 0, you are assessing the first row, first column, number 0, 0. And we accumulate it in this variable total. Okay. After you finish, going through all the elements, then we print out the total. So this is how we process a 2-dimensional array using nested loop. Okay, where you will go through the row first, then in every row, you will go through every column to assess the element. Okay, on the other hand, I can also just sum up the row in a 2D array. For example, in this example here, I declare an array, 2D array called score, where every row represents one student, the marks for one student, where every student, let's say they take 5 exams, and this is the mark for each of the exams. Okay, and I want to total up, okay, all these marks for this student, and then we print the average. Okay, so this is how we do it. So we go through the row in the array first, where it represents one of the student, right? And inside, okay, you have another for loop where you go through every marks, 5 marks or the 5 score for this student, you add it up to the total, and then you calculate the average, okay, divide by 5, right? And you print out the average for this student. Okay. On the other hand, if I want to sum only the column and not the row, so for column means I want to sum like this, each one. So if we use back the same array, but now I want to know, because in every row represent one student, right? Every column represent one of the score for one of the tests. So if I want to know for a particular test, let's say this is for test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4, test 5. So if I just want to know what is the average mark for a particular test for all the students, so I will sum up the column like this. So how I do this is, I also need 2 for loop, but here I will, the first for loop or the outer for loop is to represent the column first. Okay, it's like we start to go through column first, then in every column inside we go through every row. Okay, it's like the other way around as compared to the previous function. Okay, so this is how we total up the score for each of the tests, and then we get the average for this test and we print out. Okay. Okay. Besides 2-dimensional array, actually you can create array with 3 or more dimensions in C++ and also in Java. Like this one is to create a 3-dimension array, and this one is to create a 4-dimension. Okay, where you put the bracket, like if 4, then here you can see your 4 bracket. In 3-dimension, here you can see your 3 bracket, where each represent one of the dimension. Okay, so same also for the Java version. Okay. Okay. So I have completed the programming concept, but now I still have something to show you. For example, if you want to actually visualize your C++ program, especially like the array that we seen just now, right? So we can use this Python tutor that is available in the website. Okay, you just go to the website or you just type Python tutor in your Google. For example, for this program here, right, I have an array that contains 5 elements. Okay, I just want to total up the value here. So, but I want to know what happened when I run the code, right? So you put the code here, okay, and you just click visualize the execution. Okay, let's wait a while. Okay, so here it will show you the array or all the variables that you have declared in your program in the stack here. So here we can see our array, right, contain 5 elements, but because it haven't executed this line yet, so each one don't have any value. Okay, when you want, here you have to click next to execute every statement here, okay, to see what happened when you execute it. Okay, so when I click next, Okay, it has executed this line 3. So you can see now each of the element in this array contain the value that we initialized, 11, 12 until 15. Okay, then the total is still don't have value, right? But after I click next, you can see that it will have value 0. And then I have a for loop here that look through every element here and then add the value to this total variable, right? So if you want to know, okay, how actually, I mean, what happened behind, okay? So you just click next. Okay, the first for loop is your I is 0. Then your total is also 0 first because we haven't executed this statement. When you click next again, you will see the first element we have added. Then if you next again and next again and next again, you will see what happened until the end. Okay, so you can see that our total add up, okay, when your I value change. Okay, and this is what happened. There's a bit of mistake here, should be array bracket I, not 1. So you change it to I, then you will see it will change accordingly. Okay, so okay, so this is the Python tutor tools that you can use here to help you to visualize your program. If you want to look at what is inside the variable when you run the program, okay, so you can use this to help you. Then, okay, we will look at some sample program. I will just demo to you because all the concept that we have learned previously, right? It's like you don't know, okay, how do I use this and what can I do with all these concepts that I've shown you just now, right? So for example, I will first show you a simple program. So this program actually use it to perform some arithmetic operation on matrices. Like here, we just add 2 matrices, or we use it to multiply 2 matrices or the transpose of a matrix. Okay, so if I want to let's say I want to add 2 matrices, so I will choose 1. You see how when I run the program, right, it will show me this menu. So that, to help me, to ask me to choose, okay, what operation you want to do, right? So if I choose 1, okay, it will ask me to enter the file name for matrix 1, because here all my matrix value are stored in a text file. Okay, I store it in a text file. So my text file is called matrix1.txt. Okay, and because I add 2 matrices, right, so I have to enter the value for 2 matrices in this 2 file, which is stored in this 2 file. So after that, you see that it will show me the output. For example, my matrix 1 is actually this 1, 2, 2, 4, 2 rows, 2 columns. I add it with this matrix 2, which is 3, 6, 8, 2, and the result is this resulting matrix, right? Okay, I can also multiply 2 matrices, okay, using this same matrix again, matrix1.txt and matrix2.txt. Okay, and we can see, okay, when you perform the multiplication operation, this is the output. Okay, now for the transposer, I want to transpose a matrix, right? Okay, so this one I use matrix3.txt. Okay, you can see initially, I mean the matrix is 3 rows, 2 columns, but now after you transpose, it becomes 2 rows, 3 columns. Okay, so the code for this, I will just briefly show you the code because we don't have enough time to really look through in details. Okay, so for this, you can see that how do we implement this program. Okay, for the menu, you can see that I actually use the switch okay, to select. Okay, depends on what user enter, right? Okay, if user enter 1 means I want to do, or choice number 1, which is to add up 2 matrices together. Then if choice 2 or case 2 means I want to multiply the matrix together. Okay, and so on. Right. And to add 2 matrices, because matrix is you can say that it's something like a 2-dimensional array that we seen just now, right? So you can, that's why here, when I add up, I have to go through every element, pick out in both of the matrix and add up, right? So you can see I need a nested for loop to do that. Okay, same also for the multiplications and also the transpose. Okay, So I mean, basically, this is the program. How do we perform arithmetic operation on two matrices? You can actually add more operation. Okay, but here is just an example only. Okay, another more complicated example that I can show you is, okay, this program actually is used to actually like to keep track of the game that a user buy. For example, here we have two types of user. One is the normal user, and one is the admin that manage this game buying system. Okay, so let's say as a user, here it will ask you first, okay, you want to enter as a user or as admin? So if I want to enter as user, I put one, choice one, right? Then here, okay, you want to log in or register. If log in, if let's say for the first time you don't have any account, right? So you need to register first. So we click to, and you can create a name. For example, I just create a username, and then yes, okay. Then it will ask you to enter password, right? So I just simply enter one, A, B, C, D, E, F. So A, B, C, D, E, F, right? Okay. So after I register, now I can log in, okay, using my username and the password. So I click one to log in. So when I log in, okay, my username just now, and my password A, B, C, D, E, F, right? So after I log in, right, okay, let's say this is the what you call it, the first page of this game management system, right? So what a user can do is I can buy game, I can delete my game, view the game, the wallet, how much money I have in the wallet. Then I can delete the account, okay, cashback module, edit the module, and also log out. So let's say view game first. Let's see what are the games that I have. So if I press anywhere, oh, I have not buy any game yet, right? Because this time I log in. So I want to buy game, so I select one. And these are the three games available. This 4-1 is, there is some mistake here. So here, let's assume that I can buy these three games only. So I will choose one, okay? Let's say I buy number 2. So you click 2, okay? It will ask you, you confirm, okay, then I click yes. Then it say I don't have enough money, right? Okay, so would you like to buy another game? I say no. Okay, let me go and top up my money. So I will choose number 4. Okay, so how much money you want to top up? So I click top up first. Okay, let you choose, okay, 50, 100 or 200. Let's say I want to top up 200. Okay, now back to menu, and now I want to buy games again. So I want number 2. Yes, and it will say that because the second game is 60, right? So it will deduct the 60 for my wallet, which I have top up 200 just now, right? Then it will ask you want to buy another game? Let's say I say no, right? If I say no, then you can see, okay, now let's go to real game. This one will show you what are the games that you have purchased. So it's the second one just now, the overdue, right? Okay, so we have purchased this, and if now I want to buy another game, then you can do so. Let's say number 3. Yes. Okay. Would you like to purchase another game? So no. Okay. Then you can see that number 3, right? So now I have 2 games. Okay. Our cashback module number 6. Would you like to convert your point to cash? If I say yes, okay, which package would you like to claim? Let's say I choose number 1, but I don't have enough point. Okay, so I cannot do that, right? So then I go back to menu. Okay, edit module. If I choose number 7, okay, please enter your username, your password. Okay, this is to change my password. Okay, if I put A, B, C, D, E, F 2, it's not the same. Okay, as long as it's not the same, then you can change it, right? So or it must be the same. Okay, so for example, okay, another thing that we can do is to delete the game, right? So if I want to delete the game, because just now I purchased 2. So when I purchase 2, I can either choose to delete which one. So let's say number 2. Okay, yes. Then no, right? Then you can view your game and you see that now you left with 1 only. Okay. Okay, let's log out as a user, and if I run again, okay, if I want to log in as an admin, so we see what the admin can do. So for admin, the username, all this is already created previously because they are admin. So here the admin can look at the statement, update game details, add new game, delete games, and so on. Okay, so if I want to add new games, choose number 3. Okay, please enter the game name. Okay, let's say create Minecraft. Okay, this one can explore infinite world and build everything that you want. Okay, let's say the price is 100. Right, so this game is added in. So 1. Okay, then back to menu, unless we want to add another game. Okay, so we can also update game detail. Update game detail means like from all the games that I have here, which one I want to update. Okay, for example, let's say number 2, if I want to update, you just choose the choice 2. Then we want to edit game, choose 1. Yes. So we edit the description. Okay, I just simply put any description inside. The price, I just change it to different price. Okay, so I have successfully updated the game. So you can see that this game to the value is changed and the description is changed according to what I keyed just now. So which game you wish to edit? I put if you want to go out, you press 0. Okay. Okay. Besides this, we can also delete games. Okay, and also the statement and so on. Okay. So for this programmer, is a game management system, right? So, okay. How do we implement it? So this is the code to implement the game management system. You can see all this function here is for each of the module that the user and also the admin can do. And in this program, because it's quite long and quite complicated, so you can see like just now the choice, okay, this is how you use the switch to let user call, like just now the login module, the register module, or exit, okay, the screen just now. Okay, so it's quite complicated. And also we use a lot of loop and also selection statement like if else and also the switch case, okay, to implement this program. Okay, we still have a bit of time, so I can show you another one. Okay, so this one is a booking system for a karaoke system, right? So when you run the program, it will ask you, okay, what you want to do. You want to sign in, you want to book, you want to search, or change your profile. Okay, if one, let me see if I can log in. Okay, so because I created the account earlier, So you can see, okay, it welcomed me back, right? So after I log in, then I can look at my profile, number 4. So manage my profile is 1. So this is the profile that I have put inside, okay, like name, ID, mobile number, and so on, so on. Okay. Then here also at the bottom, you can see, okay, you can enter 1 if you want to change your password. You enter 2 if you want to change your mobile number, and enter 3 if you want to top up your wallet, right? Okay, so if I enter 3, I want to top up, okay, 100, right? Okay, then I exit, click X. Okay, view my booking. I haven't made any booking yet to the karaoke here. So let me exit again. Okay, so if I want to book, right, I will choose choice number 2 here. So here it will ask you to, okay, please enter the room that you want to book. And here you can see the information. It has 9 rooms. Okay, you have to enter what room you want to book. Let's simply just put 1. So let's say room 3. Okay, then it will ask you, okay, the date that you want to book, starting from the year. So I put 2021. The month is, let's say, July. Okay, date is today, 19. Okay. Then the time that you want to book, right? So for example, the time here it says, okay, it's only available from 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. Okay, so let's say that the start time is, I want to book from 3 until 5. Okay, so would you like to continue payment? I just click yes after I book 3 to 5. So it will like deduct the value, okay, for your room booking from your wallet lah. Okay, so the price is 20. 1 hour is like 10 ringgit lah. Okay, so and it will show you, okay, you have booked room 3 on 19 from 3 to 5. Okay, then for how long and how much here. Okay, so I press enter to pay. Payment successful, then feel free to book again. It will say, right, and continue. Then it bring you back to the first page again. So it will run continuously. Okay, here every time you perform one of the options, then it will come back to here and let you choose, okay, what you want to do next, right? Okay, so number 3 is show enter all date and time to search your booking, like 19/7/2021, right? So it can search back, okay, my booking based on the date here. If you put other date, it won't show you anything because just now I just booked one in, I mean, for 19th of July only. Okay. So based on what what you have booked, you can also cancel if you want. You just press, okay, if you want to cancel this, the first one, then you press 1. Okay. Else, you don't want to do anything, right? So you just press R to go back to the previous page and X to go back to your main menu. Okay, so we come back to here and you can continue with what you want to do. Okay, so so for this program, this is the source code, okay, that implement the program just now. So you can see it has all these functions for the registration module, the profile module, and so on. And you can see the code is also quite long. And here from the code, you can see we use a lot of those if else to select. Okay, if this happens, then what we do? If this happens, what we do? For example, if I choose login, then what it will do? Okay, or if I choose to book, then what it will do? Okay, so it will use this control structure to help you, okay, to determine the next step, what you want to do based on your choice. Okay, so and a lot of other functions you can see, right? Okay, so okay, I think the time is almost up, and I need to end my presentation. Okay, so this is the end of my presentation. I will stop from here and thank you for listening. So I'll pass back the floor to the Okay, to the MC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let me stop share. Okay,
好，
so
谢谢。
thank you.
谢谢赖老师，今天早上1个半小时，给我们从最基本啊认识什么是我们的这个电脑开始啊，一直到程式语言，甚至给了我们很多的这个 example 啊，给我们看到怎么样可以，以前可能有些同学看不懂的一堆天文码这样的感觉啊，像最后我进到我们在看这几个 example 的时候，那个 code 啊，看起来都像电脑才看得懂的语言，可能有些同学在今天早上1个半小时的学习，已经有初步可以读得懂啊，我觉得很重要。它像语言一样啊，如果你有了基本的认识，就更容易的读懂啊，这是可以跟电脑沟通的语言啊。各位同学，线上200多位同学啊，我们用666的掌声来谢谢我们的赖老师，好不好？来，同学们，你们的666啊，来谢谢我们的赖老师。我们再一次谢谢赖老师给我们这1个半小时哈完整的这个分享啊。好，谢谢，我看到现在非常多的同学啊，非常谢谢。好。